inside the iPhone factory in China. Currently, Apple is the most valuable company in the world, renowned globally for the excellence of its products and the conveniences provided to its workers dedicated to the development and innovation of new technologies. However, there is a hidden side of the company on the other side of the world, which reflects the appalling working conditions endured by the workers involved in the manufacturing and assembly of its device. The truth is that thousands of young individuals in China are currently working under harsh conditions, with reports of some working over 300 hours per month. Nevertheless, whenever these reports are mentioned, Apple has historically distanced itself by claiming that technically these workers are not theirs, as the assembly line of iPhone, Mac, and iPad is outsourced. Therefore, Apple is not directly connected to these complaints. The majority of Apple's outsourcing ends up in the hands of the Taiwanese company Foxconn, the world's largest manufacturer of electronic components. In China alone, Foxconn employs over 1 million workers who perform repetitive tasks day and night, even eating, sleeping, and bathing within the factory premises. Remember to subscribe to our channel, give it a like, comment on your thoughts about the video, and share it on the social media. Development. One of the most iconic events related to Foxconn. Many will remember the episode of mass suicides that occurred in 2010, where 18 employees dedicated to producing iPads decide to take their own lives within the same premises of the plant located in Beijing. This event was considered worldwide as a result of work pressure and stress, except by the responsible company, which downplayed the incident and claimed that the reasons were personal issues. On the other hand, company spokespersons state that 18 cases of this nature were within the normal range, considering that the Beijing plant employs nearly 500,000 workers. Another anecdotal event took place in 2012 at the Taiwan plant, where 5,000 employees began fighting inside the factory, which although primarily engaged in automobile manufacturing. At the time, the employees were also producing components for the iPhone 5. Once the situation was under control, Foxconn stated that the conflict had arisen from personal issues. It is not really surprising that, being such a globally recognized company that cares about its reputation, there is very little information that can be obtained from within those factories. Additionally, the technology industry in China enjoys significant legal security, which is of great importance for a country constantly seeking to attract new investors. Despite the difficulties, through hidden cameras or interviews with anonymous informants, media outlets in China and other countries managed to gather significant amounts of data exposing a high level of exploitation. According to the accounts of a young journalism student who infiltrated one of these factories, the worst part of it all is the boredom that comes with always performing the same tasks, which at the same time is the key to the success of this business model. Dealing with a task as simple as soldering a component of screwing a circuit board, the company can hire very low-skilled personnel, allowing them to maintain ridiculously low wages, since in the face of even the slightest complaint or infraction committed by any worker, the company knows that they can always replace them with someone else. In fact, according to the young student, when overtime is needed, you are forced to do it without prior notice. Although, in theory, it is voluntary, very few workers are not interested in doing it. This is because, although the work only entails 9 hours, they barely earn salaries close to $300 per month, which is well below the cost of living in the cities. On the other hand, workers who manage to do 20 extra hours per week can earn twice that amount. That's why it seems strange to us to see workers leaving late at night, sleeping for a few hours, and then getting up to repeat their routine the next morning. On the other hand, the majority of the staff live in enormous buildings strategically built near the workplace. These buildings, far from being spacious apartments, function as shared boarding houses inhabited by thousands of workers. There are even cases where an entire building shares communal sanitation facilities that are not sufficient to guarantee residents' hygiene. According to an investigation, these affordable buildings maintain a rating of 1 shower per 59 residents, which is alarming, especially considering that this is not an isolated case, but rather the vast majority of workers live in similar conditions. On their part, UPL asserts that they do not work it or associate with companies that mistreat their employees, as this is one of the requirements imposed on each of the factories that outsource their products. In fact, in 2012, thanks to Apple's contract with Foxconn, workers' salaries increased by 16% to 25%, and an additional 100,000 workers were demanded to be hired. This allowed employees to relax a bit in their work and have a little more free time. Unfortunately, despite this, working conditions remain precarious. However, despite the criticisms, Apple continues to break production records, currently reaching around 800,000 iPhones per day, a number that it's even estimated to soon reach 1 million, considering the company's increasing sales. But it would be unfair to say that everything relates to Apple's production is bad because, at present, the manufacturing of iPhones in Foxconn's workshops is one of the first jobs obtained by many Chinese people who are migrating for the first time to large cities from the poorest rural areas of the country. Many workers have even stated that they could afford to live in more comfortable and spacious apartments, but they choose to save more money, either to pay for their university studies or to help their families. On the other hand, these large factories have given life to small cities that have gradually acquired the name of Apple cities, since they are built in the vicinity of the factories where they assemble their products. In addition to the nearly 1.5 million workers employed by this international giant, hundreds of thousands of other people manage to benefit from and live thanks to these intensive production centers. Regarding working conditions generally, the lighting, heating, and safety and hygiene elements comply with all the requirements and regulations imposed by the Chinese government and the EFA itself, which guarantees that no one works in inhuman conditions. Therefore, if workers have to spend most of their day in the factory to earn a decent salary, that is no longer their problem. Furthermore, there is also the issue that sometimes the solution can be much crueler than the problem itself. This arises because in recent years, many of Foxconn iPhone factories have started incorporating hundreds of robots to automate most of the production process, which could automatically lead to thousands of people losing their jobs. Fortunately, for now, the high demand for new Apple products is enough to prevent this. However, what does happen in that during seasons when Apple stops intensive production, workers do not have the opportunity to increase their salaries, as this directly impacts the number of overtime hours each worker can perform. This sometimes leads to delays in rent payments and debts, indirectly affecting all the people's cities. Now, tell us what you think about this. What do you believe is the solution? And how do you feel about how Apple is addressing it? Leave your response in the comments. And if you like the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. See you later. Goodbye.